Right, welcome to another video in our series of videos for ventilation from EnviroVent. We're just going to talk about systems. What we mean by that, within approved document F, technical handbook and technical guidance for Scotland and Wales, they have what we call systems for ventilation. Now, these systems differ. We've got System 1, System 2, System 3 and System 4. At the moment, we're going to talk about System 1. System 1 is known as intermittent extract fans and background ventilators. Now, the reason I mentioned the word background ventilators, what we mean by that is a trickle vent. Now, these may be in the form of one that would be fitted around a window frame, in a window. They can go through the wall, various sizes, various lengths. This is a standard size. What's known as 2,500 millimetres squared equivalent area. So that's the amount of air that it can let in and out. Now, these are generally fitted in the windows in the habitable rooms. You'd also have one in each wet room. A lot of it depends on the size of the property and the occupancy level as well. What we'd have here, we'd have a series of what we call localised fans. So you'd have a fan in the kitchen, one in the bathroom. You'd then also have one in a utility, an ensuite or a WC, anything what we call a wet room. So you need to extract the moist air from the bathroom to outside. Also within a kitchen, you've got any moisture from cooking, also any contaminants or any odours. So we've got to make sure that we extract to atmosphere, and so these are what they're known as intermittent fans. So they are off most of the time and they come on as and when required, or you have a manual override, or maybe in a bathroom it might be wired to the light switch. So somebody will turn the light on, the fan comes on, they turn it off, it should then run on for a period of time, generally a minimum of 15 minutes to ensure it can get rid of any moisture or odours or anything like that. These fans come in various formats. I'll get my esteemed colleague just to pass me one here. So this is one known as an axial fan. These sort of quite a low powered one, low energy. They don't move large amounts of air. If you want to move a large amount of air, you've got to have a bigger fan. This one's got a 4-inch duct. If we wanted to move more air, we've got to use a bigger ducting. We may go up to 6-inch, especially for a kitchen, and designed really to go straight through a wall. Some of them can be ceiling mounted. You've just got to be aware of some of the installation issues you've got to be make sure you follow. Ideally, say if you're installing it in a loft space, going out through to atmosphere, be a roof tile vent, or it could be through a soffit or a gable end wall. We need to make sure ducting might need to be insulated. You might need a condensate trap on the back. Also, the lengths need to be kept to a minimum. Again, there is guidance with a fan like this. If you're using flexible ducting, it should be kept to a minimum of 1.5 metres, which isn't a long sort of length. So ideally, straight through the wall and out to atmosphere. We do also have what we call, if you've got longer lengths of ducting, limited to them. Again, I'll just get my esteemed colleague to pass me that one. So we've got longer lengths of ducting. You might use a high-powered fan like this one. This is a centrifugal fan. So these can cope with longer lengths of ducting, higher airflows, but still utilising a 4-inch duct. So, you know, the only things with those is they are a little bit noisier because you're moving more air, you're coping with more resistance. So they are going to be noisier than your standard actual fan. Normally you'd use a centrifugal one in the kitchen going off to atmosphere. So that's it really for intermittent fans. You'll find because of the fact that you've got the intermittent fans, there is a requirement for a lot of background ventilation. Some properties you might require sort of 24 trickle vents, and you've got to have one in each window, one in the wet rooms. So it's quite a lot of background ventilation you require. The idea of that is when the fans are on, you've got to replace the air that you're taking out, so that is then drawn in through the trickle vents. Also, because the fans are off most of the time, they might be off for 20, 22 hours a day, you still need to ventilate that property with what we call a background ventilation rate. That's what the trickle vents are going to do. Depending on the wind direction, you're still going to get some ventilation in there. There are requirements within the approved documents showing you how many background ventilators you need, depending again, as I say, on the size of the property. It will also depend on how new and how airtight the property is. So if we start using double glazing, cavity wall insulation, like we do with new build, then you're going to require more background ventilation. Hence one of the reasons why, if you look at this, we can see here new build, it's good practice, but it's not best practice. The only reason being is because with new build now, we're making them quite an airtight property to keep all the heat in, and then we're going to put a lot of holes in the building with the background ventilators if we're using these fans. So, we've got a compromise there. We're trying to make it airtight to keep the heat in, and then we penetrate the building with a lot of holes. Not ideal, but it's still good. It's still a traditional way. Good for refurbishment, major or minor, but again, it's just being aware of this requirement for the background ventilation. What you may get is people will replace the windows with double glazing, don't replace the trickle vents. Suddenly these fans aren't going to be as effective as they used to be. And that's it for system 1 really. We'll move on to the next system. We're actually going to skip one of the systems, which is known as system 2, because at EnviroVent we do not deal with that system. It's known as passive stack ventilation, and there is various reasons why we don't deal with it, but we're going to move straight on to system 3, and I'll see you in a second.